Cold calling is terrifying. It is awkward, it's brutal, it's unpredictable, and if you're doing it wrong, it's also totally pointless because you're not going to be booking any meetings with it. But if you learn how to do it the right way, it becomes one of the fastest, cheapest, and most consistent ways to book sales meetings for your business and your pipeline. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how I run cold calls after making hundreds of thousands of calls for myself and my clients. What I say, how I handle objections, and how I actually book meetings without sounding like a pushy wanker. And be sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to make a real live cold call that demonstrates my entire process from start to finish. Let's go. Now, first off, I want to clarify. Cold calling isn't about being slick. It's about being calm, clear, and confident. Here's what I remind myself before every cold calling session. Most people won't pick up, most conversations will be very short, and most calls will not book a meeting with me. And that's totally okay. The secret is detachment. You don't need every single call to be perfect. You just need to show up and have real conversations. And here's exactly how I do that. Number one, smile. Not because it makes you feel better, although it does help, but because your tone changes. People can hear the difference. You sound more relaxed, more human, less sales reppy. A super dope hack to help with my awareness on this is cold calling in front of a mirror. I know, I stole this from my wife. When you can see yourself, you'll be more aware of your posture, your body language, and your facial emotions, and there's no doubt those things come across in how you sound and the conversations you end up having. And then, when you're ready, you dial. Once someone picks up the phone, they're going to be thinking three things. Number one, who is this? Number two, why are you calling me? And number three, how fast can I get back to what I was just doing? So your opener has to cut through all of that instantly. Here's mine. Hey Jenny, I was just taking a look at your YouTube channel, LinkedIn post, website, Q4 earnings report, job ads, funding announcement, whatever it is. It's Will over at Company. Could you help me out for a quick moment? It's disarming, it's clear, it highlights some preparation, and it gets a tiny yes early, reducing friction and opting them into the conversation. So Jenny says, sure, what's this about? At that point, I'm gonna follow up with this. Appreciate Jenny, I was just poking around data source and I saw that you've increased the frequency of posting videos, launching a new product, are looking for a new systems admin, trying to reduce software spend. And I figured growing your channel, marketing those new features, migrating to the cloud, or spotting places to reduce cost might be top of mind for you. Mind if I share a couple of the big challenges that I've been hearing from folks trying to priority, and then you could tell me if this is even worth chatting about? Jenny's gonna say, yeah, sure, what are those challenges? Boom, that's the second yes. Now we're double opted in and we can be sure that Jenny is actually engaged and listening to what we say next. This is a big mistake that often happens on cold calls. People are just kind of like reflexively, instinctually responding to what the other person's saying versus actually taking part in the conversation. So when you get someone to say yes a couple of times, they're actually gonna be listening to what you say next. And this is where you're gonna establish credibility, use storytelling, and get them to identify with what you actually help with. Thanks. So the first thing I'm hearing is problem one, which can lead to this impact. For others though, that's not so much of an issue, but problem two is, and that's often caused by behavior or tool gap. And then I pause, I smile, and I say, I'm curious, can you relate to either of those? Or are you gonna tell me that you're absolutely crushing the thing, whatever the thing is, right now? It's cheeky, it's conversational, it makes them think, not just react. However, they may object, either now or earlier in the conversation. So let's say at this point or any point they hit you with one of the classic objections. We're all set, I'm not interested, send me an email, I'm busy. Here's how I handle any and all objections of this type. It's a three-part framework. Acknowledge, permission, split. So let's say Jenny says, yeah, we've got this covered. I can say something like this. Totally fair, I figured that might be the case. But before I leave you to it, do you mind if I ask a bit of a cheeky question? 99% of people say yes to this because you're agreeing with them and you're just asking to ask one last question. Is it that you're finding related challenge couldn't be addressed any better right now? Or is it just that you get a lot of calls like these and are politely just trying to tell me to leave you to it? By recapping the problem, by being self-aware, and by giving them a choice, you lower tension and increase your chances of getting the truth. Do they have the problem you solve or not? If Jenny says, yeah, no, we're not facing this issue right now, that's a good thing. I've actually disqualified them and we can be sure of it because we've asked a couple of times. If they're still cold or they say they just don't like getting calls like these, I'm not gonna fight them on that. I might just say, all good, so it seems like this thing isn't a priority right now. How about this? I can pop you an email so you have all the info you need if that were to ever change. They'll probably say yes because let's be honest, an email is easier than an uncomfortable conversation. And this is the moment where I use a tip that I really like, which I learned from Giulio Segentini, the guy who wears the yellow vest with the yellow glasses, Italian guy. Link to his stuff below, really good. Great, I'll do that. And before I let you go, could I ask you a bit of a weird question? They're gonna say yes, and then you can ask them something like, what's your favorite animal? Or what's your favorite pizza topping? Or what's your favorite place you've ever been on vacation? They say iguana or pepperoni or Bora Bora, and you make that the subject line for the email review that you send them afterwards. You preserve the relationship and avoid being annoying annoying, and you get a higher chance of having your email read. However, chances are they might resonate with the problem that you put in front of them in the first place, or one that you repeated when you were handling their objections. And if that's the case, here's how you transition for them agreeing to that to a meeting. You might want to clarify, hey, how long's that been an issue for? How have you been solving that already? But then you switch into asking for the meeting. So you might say something like this. Sounds like this might be the case for you. If I could show you how others are solving that with and without our help, would that be interesting to you? Sure. In that case, would it be totally out of the question to have 20 or 30 minutes to do that next week? They say yes, I confirm their email, clarify anything else I need, book it, follow up with a quick recap email confirming the time, date, and topic of the meeting. No need to dance, just lock that puppy in. Now, I know the real world is a little bit more random than what I just walked through. And talking about this stuff doesn't always cut it to help you figure out how this all comes together. So to demonstrate how this looks, here's a whole call from start to finish that demonstrates all of this in one.
Hello?
G'day, Megan. It's Will Aiken here. Look, I know I'm calling out the blue. However, do you have a moment to chat?
Yeah, I have a minute or two. Actually, I have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I have two. That's a lot of pressure, Megan. I'm not sure if I can cope. The reason I'm calling you, Megan, is because I happen to notice a handful of the reps over at follow my stuff on LinkedIn, and I thought the rest of the team might get some value from that too. So I wanted to reach out, see if you might be facing maybe a couple of the 2 big problems I'm helping sales teams with right now. Do you mind if I walk through those real quick?
Yeah, what are the 2 big problems?
Yeah, so typically it's opening doors, prospecting. Oftentimes the balance of volume and quality is off. So they're sending a ton out, making lots of calls, but really low conversion rates. Some people have the opposite. They're really converting high, but they can't scale that. On the other side of things, it's more closing the doors, which often comes back to asking good questions in the discovery phase, which a lot of reps get focused too much on the product. Don't suppose either of those are problems that now, or your team absolutely crushing it?
No, we definitely see that. We have a more tenured team, so we're not seeing it as much as we did a year ago, but definitely comes up, especially with our SDR org. What company did you say you were calling from again?
I actually work for myself, so willaiken.com, I guess, is my company. You said your SDR organization is more of the problem there, so it sounds like opening the doors and the volume thing would be more of the problems that I mentioned. Have I got that right?
Mm-hmm.
You said you had 2 minutes, Megan, and it looks like you've probably got a 2 p.m. meeting or something along the lines of that.
I do.
Would you be open to maybe 15 minutes next week, walk me through a little bit more about what the SDR team's doing on the last season side of the business?
Let me just take a look. I'm pretty busy in the next 2 weeks, but if you give me a call back on April 2nd, or if you want to send me an invite for April 2nd, I have time at 10 o'clock Eastern or 3 o'clock Eastern.
I'll send you one at 10. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that call, and I'll send over a bit of information ahead of that.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Appreciate
have a
you.
great one.
Bye. Hope you enjoyed that call. I won't tell you how many calls I had to make to get that one that was worth showing you, but I do want to tell you one little bonus tip, and here's the truth. I listened to countless calls from sellers in multiple industries, and I've found most people suck at cold calling not because their script is bad, but because their whole energy, their whole vibe is off. You can feel the nerves, the desperation, the pressure to book a meeting, and the buyers smell it too. But when you can take it easy, not take it too seriously, be your natural self, be playful, be positive, be curious, be interested, be smart, respectful, and chill, you become the version of yourself that people actually want to spend time talking to. So more than any tip, more than any script I can give you, I'm just gonna encourage you to take it easy, detach. If the call doesn't go well, the world will not end and you will not die. If it does go well, that's great news. But make the focus just having conversations, remaining curious, being yourself. You're gonna have a funner time doing it and likely generate more results because you're actually having fun doing it and not pretending to be something that you're not. Now, I know this is a lot and you might be taking notes, which is good for you, but good news for you is I've actually written down this entire talk track and call flow in an easy to follow guide with examples and objection handling techniques which you can use for your next call. There is a link down in the description, and if this video was helpful to you, hit the like, hit the subscribe, otherwise I might have to cold call you directly. Keep smiling, keep dialing, and I'll see you in the next one.